Do you know how you will cook your food in a power outage? This week's prep focus makes sure that you are ready to cook food so that you can have a nice warm meal instead of an old can of cold beans. Hey Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene. Are you better prepared to evacuate at emergency's notice now? Feels good, doesn't it? The best way to find out if you are is to practice. Have a surprise evacuation drill for your family and find out what you need to work on. And that being said, we are in week 7 of our prep focus.
Passing the halfway mark. This is awesome.
Keep up the great work. Don't give up. We're almost there. And this week's focus is on grid down cooking. If the power goes out, are you ready to be able to cook for your family? So your assignments for this week, number 1 is to safely, did I mention safely, cook a meal inside your home using alternative method of cooking.
Going along with that is cook a meal outdoors, which is generally a little bit easier because we're not as concerned about carbon monoxide, but you have to be able to cook indoors and outdoors.
Speaking of which, this is a digital readout carbon monoxide detector. And the reason we want you to have one of these is because most carbon monoxide detectors will have certain threshold before they alarm. But this, if you have any carbon monoxide, you're going to be able to see it on this digital readout and take immediate action so that your family will be safe. Definitely, you need one of these. I'll leave a link in the description of the video for one. Just make sure it's super important. Now, when we're talking about alternative cooking methods, we have many. You don't have to have everything we do. This is called a Vesta, and it is actually a cooker and a heater. This goes on top when you're using it as heating, but it uses canned heat or something called safe heat, which means that you can burn it inside your home safely. I think this is one of the best things to get if you're in an apartment or you don't have much money to spend. It will set you back a little bit, but you can buy the safe heat at Sam's Club. It's significantly less expensive there. And then this will both cook and heat in an emergency. It stores it very compactly, and that's all you really need to be able to do that. So that's something that we love. This is called a Kelly kettle. The reason why I love the Kelly kettle, there's 2 reasons, but it burns any kind of biomass. So if I have sticks or twigs or pine cones, whatever, outside, this is an outside thing.
Right.
I can cook something on this very small surface, but it also boils water. You put the water in here. The ability to boil water is super important in an emergency. That's why I really like that. But let's go on to number 3, because you can choose any of those that you want. In fact, we did a 30-day grid down cooking challenge for our family in the month of November. It was rough.
And it included our Thanksgiving dinner, which we had a bunch of people coming, so it was an extra big challenge, but we won.
We did it. We did it. If you click the card in the corner, I will leave a link to the playlist so that you can see some of the things that we did and the challenges that we had and what we learned a lot. We learned a whole lot through that challenge. So you might want to check that out. But what we'd like you to do is inventory whatever grid down cooking devices you have and inventory the amount of fuel that you have for each device.
And number 4 is then you're going to decide if there's something else that you need. And as we mentioned, you need different devices for cooking indoors and outdoors. And so make sure you're getting the one that's going to work best for you. Don't go off somebody else's list. Make sure that you're getting what's right for you. Now, for outdoor cooking, I love the sun oven. But your barbecue grill and charcoal, there's a lot of good options, and we'll leave lots of resources for you to look at so that you can start getting a feel for what it is that's going to work for you. And then make sure that you have both the device and the fuel, because the device without the fuel, not going to work so well.
If you're going to use your barbecue, just make sure that all of your propane canisters are filled. That's a really good thing to do this week because we're going into winter anyway. And number 5 is to organize all of it. There's nothing worse than having the power go out and not be able to find it, or not have the matches or the lighters or whatever it is that you need to make it work. Make sure we want it organized, so that's huge on our priority list.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's if you can't find it, it's worse than not having it, because you think you're covered and you're not. So we are so excited to hear about your adventures. Like I say, check out the 30-day playlist that we have of our experience. Then create your own experiences and practice.
Safely.
Yes,
safely.
Safely.
Don't blow up your family. Don't blow up your neighbors. Safely.
When you really need this, you need to know what you're doing. You need to make sure that you are doing it right and safely.
For today's question of the day, it's actually going back to last week's prep focus. Have you ever had to evacuate in an emergency situation? What did you learn? Please share in the comments so that we can all learn from your experiences and be better prepared for the challenges ahead.
And thanks for being part of the solution.